Hello everyone from where I do a lot of my stuff at home here. This is kind of my workspace. Kids' boxes and stuff go over there. And as you can see, I have it set up for a video today. And there's the sketchbooks, just a variety of materials through there. You can see a little bit of organization, but mostly a lot of stacking. and have things set up, so I'm going to get right to it. I'm going to do a fox collage using Colorado maps. I'm going to be using some materials you're probably familiar with. And one difference for this time is I'm going to use actually some Elmer's glue, which I rarely do, but for this, since I'm doing this in one take, it'll be drier and just kind of like experimenting. So here it goes. Excuse the bumpiness as I put it in here. Right here. There we go. I had a lot of requests to see about the process for making these collages mixed with watercolor and drawing and a variety of things. So I'll provide a little bit of commentary, but if I really need to concentrate, it'll be more about the process. So what I'm going to start with first is the maps here. I'm going to find a portion of the map that's just kind of indicative of Colorado. And what I like to get is numbers and letters, a little bit of writing, a little bit of typography. So what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to just cut out this corner right here, slide it across the top, and I'm not going to collage the whole paper. I want to just kind of play with it and see if I can blend the different materials. Collage is always about layering, and if you just put a full layer on top of a full layer on top of a full layer, you're just going to get one layer at the end. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with this. Nothing wrong with using materials that aren't necessarily, the most expensive or artist grade always. If you're going to do if you're doing this for experimentation, if you're doing this for kind of in a playful manner, just grab what you have on hand. And that's something that I've learned through the years. I kind of bounce around with. But I really just like using what I have on hand. So I'm going to set that paper on there. Kind of lining it up because there are right angles and I don't want to... I'll let the paint do, and the drawing do, more of the indication of different lines. So I'm going to do that. Let's see. And in the background, you'll probably hear my family because they're here. And that's part of my process. My process is I do a lot of stuff at home, and they sometimes are included. And so that's what may happen. All right, I think I've got it just about set. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go with my watercolors. And what I do with this is I kind of just going to outline certain areas there that I know that are going to be features. I'm not going to worry if I'm just like perfectly on or doing it just right, but I'm going to look for proportions. Now, keep in mind, I've drawn these a number of times, so I can revert to muscle memory some. I can, I have some recollection of messing up and trying it a different way, and that's always a good idea. Give yourself a chance to mess up so you know when you face a tough situation, you can get back to it in a way that you'll feel confident and you'll know what you're doing. Alright, so you can kind of see an outline already showing up. And I'm making it kind of too obvious. So what I'm going to do is get a little bit messier. I'm going to change colors. I start with yellow because it's one of the lightest ones I have, lightest values, and so I can paint over it if I need to, but I want to leave some white as well. I don't want to just completely overtake this whole thing. So, and I'm going to pay attention to this part right through here to see how I'm blending through there. That's always a tricky part when you're doing collages. If you want the materials, or if you want the papers to kind of talk to each other, if they're completely disjointed, it's going to be a chaotic conversation. If you want it to be a conversation where kind of on the same level, we're going to look at ways to incorporate them into each other. So the watercolors is a good medium to do that, actually. I've discovered that. And so I'm gradually building this. Let's see. So I started with the yellow. I'm going to do a little bit of orange through here. So we're going to see how this goes. I'm paying attention to where the eyes are going to be. This is going to be kind of a critical thing. I probably almost should have started with that, but for now, I'm kind of doing this in a playful manner, so I'm not going to be worried about being exact on many of these things. Alright, give it a little bit of orange. Now, one of the things that I will do is some drip. I'm not going to start with the drip yet, because once you start with the drip, you're going to be playing with where it goes, and it's going to cover the surface a little bit too much. And I want to keep things in control a little bit still here. I'll let things go out of control when I feel like everything is set a little better. All right, got a little bit more of the outline in now, so see how this works. Use a little bit of peach color here. Now the paper is going to get soaked pretty well, and I play with that. Paper that's really soaked is going to be hard to draw on, so I'm going to have to be a little bit mindful of that, but this is why I have my paper towels. I do like to dab a lot, so what I end up doing is drying it some this way. It picks up some of the color, so I don't want to do it too much, but if I feel like things get really too wet, you can kind of see in this spot where that orange is really kind of taking over, so I just want to keep an eye on that. It's alright if things get messy, so I'm not too worried. Alright, I like where the face is, just about here. I'm getting nervous because I want the eyes to be just right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to sketch a little bit through here and see where that placement is going to work best. The eyes and the nose are the darkest parts, well, the ears in here, so those are the parts that are going to talk to each other there and make sure they're most in balance. The lighter parts, if they're not as much in balance, that's alright. But the darker parts, you really have to get those straight. So, so this is a little bit of concentration going on here. Do this. I'm not going to entirely draw it in because I want room for color to play in there. So that's going to be one eye. Ooh, I got some glue right here. That's weird. Oh well. Always unexpected things show up. That might be part of the process there. We'll see. So this eye's feeling kind of big for what I want it to do right here. So I am going to make it a little smaller. And I want to add a little wildness to the eyes. This coyote, I gotta make him look a little bit hungry. And if this coyote is a little too happy, the effect I'm going for is not going to work as well. Make his eyes a little more turned down that way. Alright, as I'm drawing, I'm looking at both sides to see where I want to be at. And this isn't too bad. I kind of have that line across the top. That kind of helps out. And now what I'm going to do is go down and see about that nose. If I put it too far down, it's going to be kind of awkward there, but looking at the size of the, oops. Yeah, that nose is going to be pretty big compared to the eyes right there. Oh well. This is a work in progress, so you guys will get to see how I problem solve. Usually I have music playing in the background or a podcast of sorts. I don't mind that in the background. It's something that allows me to relax, and sometimes I listen to some good bits of things that kind of inspire me. Now I can see I've gone pretty heavy on the yellow down there. We'll see how it plays out when I add the drips. All right, so this is what I'm looking at. I'm looking at to see if my nose is lining up with my eyes. They're not great so far. So here's the darkest part of the ears. I'm kind of scribbling in there. There's going to be some parts in here that are like that, but it's going to get washed away anyway, so I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Make sure the muzzle is at a good distance there. All right, let's see what's happening here. Define the ears a little bit more. Yeah, the eyes are pretty far from that nose. His head is turned down quite a bit, so we'll see where it goes from here. No guarantees. All right, I'm going to add some red now. Let's see. So the idea of using color, a whole bunch of color, just comes from my interest in experimenting always. I love to see what happens when colors play with each other. I don't always get an opportunity to spend as much time as I would like experimenting with colors, but when I get an opportunity like this on a nice Saturday afternoon, that's what I do. All right, I don't want too much red. Red is a pretty strong, well, this is more pinkish coming through here on this watercolor, but I don't want to go too strong on the red right away. I'm going to go do some drizzles pretty soon because I feel like there's some, make it run a little bit because I feel like it's really flat right now and not exactly where I want it. All right, I'm going to add a little purple. Purple's a good color for the shadows and for some of the darker areas, and it just works really well with the yellow and the orange, so I'm kind of a fan of the purple. You can kind of see how it plays off of that a little bit. And I don't wait till everything dries. I just want to kind of go through it, and I pick up a little bit of different colors that way, and so it helps work it out that way. All right, so I can tell that's already helping some. I do need some yellow or peach or orange in those eyes too. All right. Let's see. And I still feel like it's almost too literal a take right now. Let's see. Now, Coyote is obviously a furry animal. I want to indicate some fur, but if I get going in that direction, I'm going to be stuck doing that for a while. That's not my interest with this. Man, that nose is really far down. I'll just have a longer muzzle. I'm looking at some of the darker parts on my reference picture. Kind of playing with it now. So let's see. Now I've got some interesting colors going on my paintbrush, and I kind of like playing with that. That purple's picked up some red, it's picked up a little bit of yellow. Picked up some different things. Now this fox is really straightforward right now, and I really need to free him up some. So what I am going to do, actually, which I haven't done before, I'm really not liking what I did around the mouth area. I'm going to get a little bit more of that map, and if I can find it, it's already disappeared off the table. Did I slide it under here? I lose things on a constant basis, so if I can't find the map, I will use something else. Something that's on hand that would be of interest. Maybe this. A little bit of note card. So I'll get some line in there. Something a little bit different. So this is what I'm thinking. Yeah, that's going to help out. So back to the glue. And this isn't something that I planned, obviously, but I'm going to roll with it, see what happens. It'll be interesting to see what happens as the paint rolls down and goes over this. So that'll be something that's kind of in my mind right now, trying to find out what that's going to do. So let's see. All right, let's add a little bit more sketching in. And now I'm going to outline a little bit more so I kind of see the areas. I don't want to do too much because there's still some more that's going to happen here. And that's going to get washed away probably, just to keep me on track. Alright, so I'm going to do a little bit of brown now. Alright, that ear is going somewhere. Let's see about this brown. Brown is not really strong, so, and I can pick up some different things with that, so. Loosen this up big time. I'm going to add a little bit of peach around the borders with that brown. A little bit of water to spread it out. Got a little extra in there, that's interesting. There we go. A little bit more up here. And a pop of orange up there. That orange just packs a punch. But I want to give it some of that there. Now that map is starting to fade a little more into the background, you can see. Alright. Here goes some of the drips. So this is what I do. I just get amount of color, load it up in a spot, and we'll see how it runs down. Let me see if I can get that on there. And it goes places usually I don't expect it to go. Whoa, like that one just veered right off. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to catch that. And that makes a cool little something. Let's see. Let's try one where we can see it go real good. So load it up. Wait till it starts to really fill up. And there we go. And that one ran down pretty good. Now the paper underneath is a little bit wet because I just painted it, but there we go. It's going to follow that paper there, which I thought was going to happen. A little bit of red here. Got a little splatter during this. And there it goes, flowing down. I'm going to stop it there. I'll make an interesting puddle. And I'm going to do some more drips, but just not yet. I'm going to go to some blue now. Highlight some of the darker spots. All right, some more in there. All right, we're starting to get somewhere. It's still taking a little more time than I'd like to develop, but about 20 minutes in. It's not too bad. A little bit of turquoise. Turquoise plays well with some of the other colors, just fun to do. There's still a lot of blue in that paintbrush, oh well. Alright, I'll have to lighten that up afterwards. And that moved my nose a little bit further up, which I like better. Alright, I'm really needing some orange in those eyes because they're really not where I'd like them. So we'll see what happens here. I have my dabber ready. There we go. And I'll highlight with the white marker afterwards. That one got darker because it's the map and it soaks up a little bit more. Something to think about with that. Alright, more orange through here. Pull a little bit of paint across there. A little bit more on top. I'm leaving a little bit of white. Don't want to kill the white. Alright, see some excess paint through here. And there we go. I'm going to do a real dark drip, so could really mess it up, but I just want to see what happens with it. I'm going to do a dark turquoise. I'm feeling that a little bit more. Yeah, that's the turquoise. I don't want it directly from the nose. I want it just a little bit from the side. Sorry. Pulled it away from the camera. Man, that drop is holding hard. I'm going to cheat and pretend like it's a drop here. You can do that if you like. Now it looks like he has a nose drip, so I'm going to fix that a little bit. I want a drip that comes from a different part of his face. So we'll try one from the top here. I have no idea how that's going to work, but we'll try that. Ooh, it followed that red one there. Interesting. So I'll dab it, before it covers all of it up. It wants to follow that little trail. Okay, so right now I'm gonna let it sit for a minute. I'll probably pause the video for a second, but I'm not going to change anything to it. All right, I'm back to it. I did change a few things. I added a little bit more collage down here and made a little purple drip here and fixed that eye a little bit. So I want to do a little more sketching on here. I want to get some lines moving on this paper. This eye seemingly is doing something there. So do this. There, it looks a little more ominous now. Let's give this nose a little more pep in here. And now I'm going to loosen up my sketching a little bit. I like to just kind of wiggle out a little bit. This makes it breathe, actually. It's something that I've learned to do not too long ago. And it really just frees up a drawing quite a bit. Go back to the dark spot in here, in these ears. An observation about the Elmer's glue that I just made is that when it gets wet, it loses some of its adhesiveness. So that's something to think about when using a different type of glue, is to find out what properties does it have and how does it hold up in a variety of ways. If it gets too straight, my mind tells me loosen it up. There's that. Add some whiskers. And go through there. I'll define the muzzle just a little bit more, but I don't want to just leave it like that. There's a little more grain in there. Fur is interesting. All right, I'm going to go with the white. This is a, what is it again? It is the Uniball Signo. It's just a good white liner. It works real nicely, as you can see. So I'm going to give some more white in there. Outline some of the parts here. Not too close. All right, a little bit of white over the eyes. Now I'm going to look and see where that highlight would work best, probably in that top left part. So I'm just going to do that. Highlight under the eye, bring attention to those darker parts by adding some white. Here goes some white in here. Let's see, where else can we add some white? Right around here. Beside the nose. Up here. All right, we're starting to get somewhere. I'm going to add some yellow splatter. Different accent areas, a little bit of red splatter. And there we go. Now some purple splatter. like to go too heavy in any one area. And let's see, a little bit of black just down at the bottom here. A little bit on there. A little bit of ink splatter. All right. Re-emphasize some of the areas there. All right. All right, let's see. All right, I'm going to pause it again to give the drops a chance to dry, and we'll see where we go for the last little bit. All right, I've let it dry just a little bit. I wanted to show you, if you leave the paint just kind of sit, it stays darker. If you dab it up, obviously it's going to get lighter. So if I dab up this lower part here, you're going to see how it picks up a little bit more there. We're nearing the end on this one. I don't think I want to continue messing with it too much more. There's a few critiques that I would put on myself here. I think the eyes are a little bit narrow based on what I've done in the past. I'm going to give that a little bit more of an indication there. I'll follow it up with something similar on the other side so it doesn't look too awkward. I'm going to look at a couple of reference pictures and just kind of see where can I give it a little more feel. And I'll go from there. There's some parts that I just didn't give it enough. There we go. It's a little better. This part through here typically is really light, and I had a drip that went through there, and my pen is not really picking it up much. On occasion I've gotten some white paint out to do that, but for this one I'm going to skip that. I think I'm going to work with that. I could darken it up around it, but I don't think I feel like doing that. So I'm going to stop on there. So those are a couple of the techniques that I use. Hopefully you've picked up a little bit of my process, and happy to share it with you today. Thank you.